Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez. America's favorite late-night talk program featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Our phone number, if you want to join us on our late-night national town hall conversations, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ, and it's 7 minutes past the hour. Welcome to the Friday night edition of the program. We're live, we're national, that means we're doing it right now, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you when you call in. Now, I want to get into a couple of things tonight, just to set the stage a little bit. We're going to talk about a number of things. We're going to talk about what happens when you go on a date, when you date people that are of the opposite political persuasion. Well, we'll be talking about that. Then we're going to have a little bit of a comic relief with a comedian we're going to speak with. And then we're going to talk about what is going on with this video that's been released that's exposing how radical non-governmental organizations are literally just laughing at the efforts to deport illegal aliens and helping ICE offenders, right, illegal aliens, avoid getting caught, avoiding evasion by ICE, to actually offering training for that. So we're going to find out about that with Mike Howell. He's supposed to join us in a little bit. But I want to get into a number of things here, because we've had lots of good conversation over the week. And there's a lot of headlines today that I think are pretty interesting. Let me see here. TikTok. The TikTok deal is on hold. Trump says another 75 days. The deal is falling through. Some are blaming tariffs. Then we have, let's see, China says, haha, you want to do tariffs? I'll show you tariffs. They're now tariffing the United States on all goods at 34%. Now, I've never been to China. I don't know anybody that does their shopping inside of China. I mean, some of us buy Chinese stuff, but it's in the United States. So I don't know how many Chinese are like, hey, let me get a Ford. Let me get a Cadillac. Let me get a McDonald's. I don't know anything about it. So I don't know how effective that's going to be, how much. I know we send them a lot of soybeans. And, of course, this will become a big talking point of the scared right and the radical left. What else do we have here? We've got the president now tripling the number of U.S. Coast Guardsmen at the southern border. All right, locking it down. And there was an arrest of a transgender student in Florida for using the wrong bathroom. It's a first of its kind arrest, which is a pretty interesting thing. P. Diddy, Sean Combs, facing new charges. 5 new counts in his sex trafficking indictment. Maybe I'll get to that in a little bit. Let me see here. And according to the New York Post, a federal judge has ruled that the Trump administration sent the wrong guy to El Salvador. I don't know if this is true or not, but we will get into that a little bit later. And the judge is demanding that he bring him back. Well, shoot, I'd be demanding the same exact thing. What else do we have here? Nintendo Switch. Yeah, we can get to that later. Big rat. There's a big rat in Cambodia. Anyway, I want to get into a number of things. One of the things that we're going to chat about later is this. Let me see. I'm sorry, I'm a little off here. Is the these immigration arrests and whatnot. And I have a clip from the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi. She was in Florida today, and she announced some more arrests. So we'll discuss that in a little bit. But I think it's important that we don't take our foot off the gas with illegal immigration. And not because I don't like the immigrants or because of anything like that, but more so, it's a bad economic policy to have an unending supply of cheap labor. It's also very bad for the constitutional republic to have a very high percentage of non-citizens, in my opinion. I think it's also very bad when you just disregard the history, the tradition, the rules, right? The way we've done things. Now, I understand some people are here to break the rules, right? They're like, well, Rich, if you don't like breaking the rules, why are you letting Trump go to Washington and break everything? Well, there are some rules that I think need to be adjusted, right? I think we've seen Washington operate for too long the way it did. Now, Joe Biden did that. He came in, he said, nah, your old immigration system, it doesn't work. Immigration needs reform. We need comprehensive immigration reform, right? How many times have you heard that? But at the end of the day, it was never really about any type of comprehensive reform. Nothing was reformed. I guess you could say they reformed the system to eliminate the system. They said, oh, you want asylum? Everybody gets asylum. Come on in. Come one, come all. And look what that did. It came, not only with a bunch of people that came, it came with, part and parcel, with a bunch of criminals that were being ejected because they were rejected by their home nations. It came with people that were coming to this country to harm this country and its citizens. People that were known terrorists, on the known terrorist watch list. So, didn't seem to work, right? Bad plan, bad policy. So I don't think that's a good plan. I don't think it was a good plan then. I don't think it's a good plan now. But there's still some people out there that are championing this cause, and it's not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. Anyway, just something I wanted to put out there. There's a few clips I want to get to. I'm not going to get to them right now because I really want to jump into this conversation about the NGOs and how these nonprofits, these non-governmental organizations, or NGOs as they're known, are really trying to have the last laugh here and just say, oh, all right, you're going to put ICE on the streets. You're going to get Tom Homan. You're going to have them going out there like Starsky and Hutch with Dr. Phil going after these bad guys in Boston and everywhere else. Okay. Well, then we're going to go out there and let everybody know how we can protect them. Now, I think it's a misnomer. I think it's a mistake for anybody to think that these groups are necessarily looking to protect the bad guys. I really don't. And maybe that's just me being overly generous. But I really believe that they're trying to protect people that came to this country looking for an opportunity, people that came to this country with children, people that came to this country, albeit illegally, came here pursuing the American dream. Whereas the Trump administration is going after people who came here to disrupt the American dream. People that were raping people in their own home country and murdering them and came here and did the same. People that came here to abuse children, to abuse our way of life. That can't be tolerated, and it mustn't be tolerated. So I think that, again, when we look at this stuff, I think it fairly, in all honesty, now, they're not trying to defend criminals. But that doesn't mean that they're not, right? There's probably some percentage of them that are. I mean, what comes to mind quickly, just as a quick thought, was the ACLU, right? The ACLU defended what was known as the Puerto Rican nationalist movement back in the 1950s. Now, these people are nothing, in my opinion, they were nothing short of secessionists, of insurrectionists, literally waging war on the United States, even going into the U.S. Capitol and shooting a congressman with a gun. They did that. What never happened on January 6th happened when the Puerto Rican nationalists stormed Congress. You tell me that's not an act of war on the United States when you say we're not going to fly that flag? They kicked the cops out. They kicked the National Guard out. They took over entire neighborhoods back then, right? In Hayuya. And these are my people, right? This is my where my dad was born, where my mom was born. But right is right and wrong is wrong. And just because they're dissatisfied with their political status of being a commonwealth doesn't mean that you get to start a war. And that's what, in effect, they tried to do. And the United States responded in kind and put it down like it was a war. And today they try to say, oh, but the United States was heavy-handed in their approach of trying to quell the insurrection. And all I could say is, when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And I think that's what happens in so much of life. And the ACLU defended these people, right? Because everybody's entitled to a defense. I don't think anybody there was trying to help a new American, was trying to help a new way of thinking other than this communist way of thinking. That's just my belief. Here, however, I think I'm going to leave benefit for the doubt, but maybe I'm wrong. And Mike Howell from the Oversight Project is going to set me straight. So we're going to find out what the deal is with this. Are these guys harboring bad guys and providing aid and comfort to the enemy? Or is it a combination thereof? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but we're going to find out. Keep it locked right here. I'm Rich Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back, and we continue the conversation with Mike Howell. He's the head of the Oversight Project at the Heritage Foundation. And before we bring him in, I want you guys to be up to speed with what he's been looking at, right? Because I've got some audio clips of Janice Northa. She is the Community Engagement Manager of New York Immigration Coalition. And in a video that was posted by the Oversight Project, she explains how to identify Border Patrol by their yellow and green uniforms, and then goes on to explain a little more. But listen to this.
One of the things that people can do right now, regardless of your immigration status, if you're like, hey, I want to do something to help what is going on, is being able to identify them. Do a little check for understanding, and you can say the answer from your seat. Who may not be wearing an identifiable uniform? Ding, ding, ding. Everybody can cry. Who's going to be wearing yellow and green uniforms? Border Patrol, yes.
So now they're testing people on what type of uniforms which agency, federal agency, is using. So if it's yellow and green uniforms, those are the Border Patrol agents, right? And she goes on in this training, Janice Northia from New York Immigration Coalition, to explain what to do if ICE agents come to your door. Listen to this.
Every single person in the U.S., regardless of your legal status, whether you've been here for 3 days, 3 months, everyone has these basic rights, okay? You have the right to remain silent and not answer any questions. You can refuse searches of your person, your home, your belongings, and you cannot be arrested or detained for no reason. All of our rights right now, all of these, are completely under attack. So if ICE is at someone's door, the first recommendation is do not open the door at all. Any interaction you have with them can happen while your door is closed. And the two things that you can ask for, the first is for them to identify themselves. You can ask, can you identify yourself? Who are you? Are you ICE?
So again, now, my question to Mike Howell, again, the head of the Oversight Project at the Heritage Foundation, is this. Mike Howell, is this simply some nonprofit groups that are giving pro bono legal advice to individuals that have some form of due process because they're in the United States, albeit illegally, because the United States provides these types of rights to illegal aliens as well? Maybe not the same ones as the rest of us, but some, and in this due process. Or is this them actually trying to actively skirt the law and help out the bad guys? What say you?
Yeah, I think it's one more. I think in many instances it's outright illegal. It is clearly subversive behavior. It is siding with foreign invaders against our own nation state here in the United States of America. And the problem for these just radicals who have gotten used to the non-enforcement of immigration laws over the Biden administration, clearly, but frankly for the last couple decades, is there's a lot of things they've forgotten about, laws that are on the books that if charged by DOJ, these people could be in serious trouble. I'm talking about evasion of ICE, harboring illegal aliens. illegal aliens, transporting illegal aliens. And so all of these things could be criminally charged one way or the other. And what makes it even scarier for the left, they really sit down with their lawyers and think hard about this, is the politicians involved in the others, because we all got very familiar over the January 6th cases, over these stretches of conspiracy. I'm not talking about conspiracy theorists like, they call you and me, but legal conspiracies where one or more two people, gather to break the law. And it goes to Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer's at their freaking, big annual gala. He's involved. They're funding it. It's a mess.
Wow. Mike Howell, this stuff, as disappointing as it is, it isn't surprising. And I always try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I really, really do. Because I want to think people are trying to do the right thing. And before you came on, I was talking about these, what I would describe terrorists that, tried to take over Puerto Rico back in the 1950s in the name of independence. And were sympathetic. A lot of people were sympathetic to this movement, just like the Weather Underground here, stateside. There were people sympathetic to that too. They were bombing federal buildings. They're like, yeah, but they're doing it for the right reasons. These type of crazies. And I feel like there's always that level of radical element in society, and they take to stuff like this, and they're like, yeah, this is a good thing.
That's 100% true. This has its roots in the communist infiltration of the, frankly, Democratic Party starting at the turn of the 20th century and really picking it up into overdrive, around halfway through the century. But those are the Marxist tactics, to basically move into the political fora some level of routine law breaking, which becomes a political dispute as opposed to a legal one. Think of Antifa, BLM. You make references to Weather Undergrounds, but this is the Marxist playbook. Is they're flagrantly abusing and flouting the law and normalizing it, and then when basic immigration laws get enforced in this country, they pretend like it is the worst thing that's ever happened. This is the daily Rachel Maddow and et cetera freak out that you see when we see gangbangers and other illegal aliens being flown back to where they belong.
Yeah, 100% true. And I think what's frustrating for a lot of people is that, most people don't have the time or the interest to really get to the crux of a lot of these matters. And for them, it's either one case or the other, right? It's either you've got these people that are xenophobes and racists and are trying to get rid of everybody and make America white again, or B, the exact other side of that, which is, these people are just here. Everybody's just trying to live their life. There are no criminals. There's more criminals, in the United States that, we don't have to import them. They're already natural born. All these arguments that I hear. And I feel like there's a reality in both of these things. There are people that come here, overstay a visa, fall in love, get married, live happily ever after, become Americans, and love America. I don't know the percentage of that, but I know that's a reality. And they go to immigration lawyers, and they're afforded due process, and there's a process for these people. There's also people that apply for asylum and are really coming from a country that qualifies, and perhaps they get accepted. But the vast majority of these people are abusing the system that Biden kind of put in place with the CBP1 app and all that. And now people, the innocent bystander, the American public, is left feeling like, I don't know, I want to help these people, but I don't. It's hurting us, and they don't know what to do. And I think this is the information war part of this that is very challenging for the public.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot to unpack, and I agree with what you just said there. First, on the racialization of the argument.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you. Let's pause right there on that racialization, because I think that's a good thread to pull on. Folks, we're going to come right back with Mike Howell. The music means they're asking us to take a pause, but we're coming right back. We're live. We're national. The phone number is 833-4-VALDEZ. If you want to join the conversation, keep it locked right here. We're coming right back.
Look at Rich Valdez. He's now a radio host, and he's a great radio host.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, familia, welcome back. We continue the conversation with Mike Howell, the head of the Oversight Project at the Heritage Foundation. And Mike Howell, right before the break, we paused because we were talking about how this is oftentimes exploited and racialized when it should be about law and order, but becomes politicized.
Yeah, that's 100% right. And I mean, for my entire adult life, up until about a year or so ago, I'd say halfway through the Biden administration, the immigration policy argument, it's not even a policy argument, actually. The left just doesn't want immigration policy. They want open borders. They proved that on a dramatic scale. But it was all filtered through the lens of you're a bigot if you don't let everyone in the world into the U.S. Without any limitations. Right. And that's frankly just the position. It was not even an articulated reasoned one. It was just one of pure emotional, basically fear-mongering. It's if you side with them, we will tar and feather you as a racist. Well, then they took it way too far. And people saw the real-life consequences of what open borders policy looks like, not only on steroids, but when the leftist politicians dropped the mask and pretended stop pretending they actually care about enforcement. Because that's what happened the last 4 years. They didn't have to pretend anymore. It felt like it didn't because the radicals had taken over the party. And then Americans saw it for what it is. It's a terrible policy. It hurts every aspect of your life. And when you touch the government, whether it's your schools, your hospitals, your roads, you can't drive in D.C. without almost hitting an illegal zipping around on a moped with drugs these days. Whether it's the crime that comes with it, the gangs, the social services, it just is terrible at every place illegal immigration touches in the United States. And people got so sick of it that for the first time, mass deportations were a just majority supported position. That was once unthinkable. Terms like this country's being invaded used to get you canceled and on a Southern Poverty Law Center a hate list. They still do. They'll still put you on there, but no one cares anymore. I'm on a couple of those. They actually upgraded me to the global one. So I'm not just a U.S. hate person. I'm a global hate person, according to them.
You're a terrorist.
But they've shifted the policy window so much to where, I've always been, and I think most Americans have been. It's if you're here illegally, you go home. Mass deportations are on the table. But now, and I mean, we're in the first couple months, so the administration's got time, but we're talking only about like criminals most of the time. The administration, when they deport people, they're defending in terms of, well, we got some gangbangers in there too. Well, even if you deport every criminal alien in the U.S., that's only 400,000 of about 20 plus million that are in here illegally. So at some point, if we're going to carry out this mission, we have to get comfortable with talking about just the base notion that if you're here illegally, you have to come into compliance with immigration law, and that means you're going home and having to come back in legally.
Yeah, listen, I totally get you, and I think it's an amazing job that the left has done to really to create and frame this argument in such a way that if you are a racist, a bigot, a heartless bastard of a person, if you dare say, well, I'm not sure we should have so much illegal immigration, it's not even good for them, right? The UN, of all places, the UN said that the Darien Gap, that whole Eagle Pass, that the southern border of the United States was the most deadly border crossing on the planet a year and a half ago. If that doesn't tell you this isn't good for anybody, what does?
Oh my gosh, the Darien Gap's an absolute crazy zone. There's like tribal, tribes there that'll actually take you out. There's all sorts of like jungle cats and stuff like that. It is really just like almost like a prehistoric type danger zone. And I know this because some of the guys we work with, Anthony Rubin and Muckraker, the ones in the video that we just put out, they flew down there and they went through the Darien Gaps themselves and filmed the whole thing. They got kidnapped by the cartels and they're 100 yards short of the U.S. border. And we saw that and we said, we got to partner with these guys. And that's why the video that, we put out of the nonprofit in New York, they're inside those networks and operating and filming this whole thing. And it's our hopes that, as a result of their work, we can help get these people shut down. And it's just a matter of political will at this point, because I think it's a pretty clear-cut case of, a conspiracy here to thwart and subvert ICE, and it's all on camera. And so House Homeland Security Oversight Committee that's on Capitol Hill opened a formal investigation. We referred our findings not only to Mayor Eric Adams, who only likes to talk tough. He's not going to do jack squat about it. He'll just go on cable news and pretend he's, But also, our good friend Tom Homan. They got what they need, and we're going to keep investigating and giving them what they need to go out and charge these cells, and they're subversive cells, often government funded. But it's just we got to treat this like a crime scene.
Mike Howell, a couple of weeks ago, My least favorite congresswoman from the Bronx and Queens, my compatriot AOC, all out crazy, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She was, talking a lot of smack about Homan, and he was going back at her, and they were going at it. And, she's basically saying, look, I'm a member of Congress. I have constituents. I'm providing information to them. He says, hey, you might be helping them evade, enforcement actions. And I don't know what came of that. And even what you're talking about, I guess, where is the line, or where are you guys asserting that the line exists, saying, hey, look, you can talk about general information up to here, but once you get into this and this and this, you're literally, aiding and abetting not quote unquote fugitive, but you get my point.
No, I think it is quote unquote. Actually, it's aiding and abetting. Like, for instance, in the people who helped the illegal Jose Ibarra, transit through the United States, and then he ended up killing Lake and Riley. Mm-hmm. I view them being as criminally culpable. But the answer to your legal question, there's federal laws and state laws that both can touch on some of this. So let's focus on the federal one first, because that's obviously what Homan and others are asserting. Sure. When AG Pam Bondi came in, one of the very first things she did was issued a memoranda to all the Department of Justice, and she pointed back to a bunch of immigration statutes that had rarely been enforced, particularly at scale. And those immigration statutes included things like evading ICE, harboring illegal aliens, transporting them, the day-to-day things that these nonprofits and their allies do. And so they're going to, at some point, the directive's out to U.S. attorneys and others to start charging these people under those statutes. And so I think, their AOC's, claim about her First Amendment, covering criminal activity will be tested in court at some point, whether it's her or one of her allies. And it's just a matter of time before DOJ starts prosecuting these people. But that's where we come in at the Oversight Project. We're building out the factual predicates, to really ramp up the ability for law enforcement to go in and charge. Our stuff's on camera. In multiple instances, we submitted with affidavits and things like that to really up the ability of federal and other prosecutors to come in and actually apply consequences.
Well, keep up the good work. Tell everybody how they can find you, how they could support your work and learn more about what you're doing.
Absolutely. So this is actually our launch week. The Heritage Foundation was kind and generous enough to launch us off as their own independent organization with their support. And so check us out. Our website's itsyourgov.org. Our X handles, It's Your Gov. We post a lot of stuff there. And so Oversight Project, it's your government. That's why we do it, because this country belongs to you, and we're exposing all of the nefarious action along the way. Would appreciate anyone, giving us a look and, helping out where they can.
Government of, for, and by the people. Mike Howell, itsyourgov.com. I love it. Follow him online at itsyourgov. The Oversight Project. Mike Howell, you're a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot. Godspeed, sir.
Thank you. It's .org. Don't want to get our new followers. I might have misstated that. .org. Have a good one.
It's probably me. I appreciate that. Itsyourgov.org. Thanks again, brother. I appreciate it.
Next time. See ya.
You bet. And amigos, we continue. Your thoughts, your calls, and reactions to what's going on with immigration all across America, plus a couple of big stories. 30-something people arrested in Washington, 47 people arrested elsewhere. Lots of stuff going on. Keep it locked right here.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
I love your show. I love your views on things. I enjoy the interviews that you have, and I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
This early morning operation in Hays County, Texas on Tuesday led to the apprehension of 47 illegal immigrants. And DHS sources tell me the majority of them are affiliated with Tren de Aragua. So in a statement, ICE kind of broke down who these individuals were and who was apprehended here. So 25 of them were single adult males. 9 were single adult females, meaning they were not part of a family group here. Now, 4 females were heads of household with 9 non-U.S. citizen children. All of these individuals were found to be illegally present in the United States. They were transported to the Austin resident office and remain in ICE custody pending immigration proceedings. That is according to the agency. Now, they found these individuals because the FBI developed intelligence regarding a possible gathering of suspected TDA members or TDA associates in Hays County. Now, this was a multi-agency effort between Hays County Sheriff, Texas DPS, the FBI, and ICE, who obtained a search warrant on that home. It was then executed by DPS's Special Response Team. Officials also confirm that narcotics were also seized from that home.
That is a report from News Nation, Allie Bradley reporting. And, dozens of migrants arrested this week at an ICE raid near Austin, many of them having the ties to Tren de Aragua. But they're not the only ones, right? There's other stuff going on with respect to this same topic that we're talking about, illegal immigration and the transnational criminal organizations within them. Attorney General Pam Bondi just today in Florida. I mentioned it before, but we didn't play the clip. I'll play it for you now. They continue to arrest more people from the MS-13 gang. Listen to this.
Today, we're here to announce the arrest of 3 more MS-13 gang members who were in this country illegally, and they were in Florida, and we will be reviewing them. They've all been arrested for first-degree murder. We will be reviewing them to see if we will seek the death penalty. This has been a long-running investigation that started in 2015. The victim in this case was brutally murdered, stabbed approximately 100 times by multiple gang members before he was shot in the head. He suffered tremendously. And these indictments are a warning to all criminals. We don't care how long ago you committed the crime. We don't care where you go. We will find you, we will arrest you, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law.
Fullest extent of the law. Now, I got to tell you, I don't know if it's the perception of the media or I don't know, maybe it's my own misgivings, but I'm really happy to see that the government is doing what it's supposed to do, right? This is what we pay taxes for, to make sure that we have borders, that we have security, that we have stuff. You know me. I always say, give me a horse and a dirt road. Keep your government, right? Give me a gun, a shotgun, whatever. Like Biden said, buy a shotgun. You know, honestly, I don't need, I'm not keen on the government at all. So, oh my gosh, we have to cut the government. DOGE at the state level now says we are going to be canceling DMV. Nobody has to register their car anymore. Listen, I don't have a problem with this. But what about you driving on the road with people with gas guzzlers and smoky cars and noisy cars? Hey, to each his own. You know, if I don't like that, I'm leaving. I don't want to hear your stuff. I'm going somewhere else. That's it. It's that simple. Because, come on, this is that. Anyway, so that's what's going on with these sex traffickers that are coming across the border and doing bad things and killing people and all that. But there's also people that are being accused of sex trafficking that are right here in the United States, right? That's what Sean P. Diddy Combs, Puff Daddy, that's what he was accused of. And there's some new charges against him, and he says that this is nothing new coming from the feds. They're just basically invading his private sex life. I got more on that when we return. Keep it locked right here.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Sean Diddy Combs' legal troubles continue. The disgraced music mogul has been hit with a third superseding indictment filed by federal prosecutors in New York April 3rd, adding 2 counts to his pre-existing charges. While Combs was charged with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, as well as transportation to engage in prostitution back in September, which he's previously denied and pled not guilty, the new indictment, obtained by NBC News, adds 1 count of sex trafficking and 1 count of prostitution to his charges. The new counts of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution expand upon the years of the alleged events, including allegations from 2021 and 2024. In reference to the additional sex trafficking count, the new indictment refers to an unnamed person, Victim 2, and claims Combs attempted, aided and abetted, and willfully caused Victim 2 to engage in commercial sex acts as a result of force, fraud, and coercion. The indictment later adds, in the new count of transportation to engage in prostitution, Combs willfully caused the transportation of multiple individuals, included but not limited to Victim 2 and commercial sex workers, in interstate and foreign commerce on multiple occasions with the intent that they engage in prostitution. Combs is currently in jail and awaiting the start of his trial in May.
That a report on Puff Daddy Sean Diddy Combs. And very interesting stuff, right? Very interesting stuff. This guy just can't catch a break. He's getting sued all over the place. And again, I'm not coming to the defense of Puff Daddy, but I'm just saying, man, talk about keeping him coming. For the second time in several months, yet another indictment. I mean, this is big from the DOJ. This is going to trial next month, and this could put him in jail for 55 years. Look at that. So he's got all these multiple counts of sex trafficking, right? That's what he's being charged with in many instances. He's facing something like 55 years, what I saw somewhere here. Just imagine, right? It almost seems like they were going to give Trump 400 years, right? 4 100-year counts. They were going to charge Trump with more than they were charging a sex trafficker. At least on my cursory view, it seems that way. Anyway, this second indictment was handed down back in March. But there was more that came down today from the Southern District of New York. And very interesting stuff going on here, right? He continues to deny everything. Now, he settled a case, a legal battle, like a lawsuit, for $30 million for assault and abuse. It was a lawsuit that alleged that he did these things. And that was victim number 1, who we now know is his former girlfriend that he was seen on video beating in a hotel lobby, Cassie Ventura. And then we learned about the freak-offs, right, where there were male and female prostitutes, drug use. The drugs were oftentimes in the bottles of baby oil. They were used in massaging and whatnot, and people were being drugged, perhaps without knowing. I mean, this is like a serious thing. They would stage these events and then videotape them. So now, this third indictment, today, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York is focusing on an unnamed victim number 2 over additional charges of sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution between 2021 and 2024. And they also were causing this victim to, Combs and any other co-defendants he has, to engage in commercial sex acts. So anyway, similar to the other charges, just yet another count. I don't know what to make of this. I never like it when there's an unknown victim this, but I understand you're trying to protect people. I do. I get it. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to face your accusers in open court, no matter who you are, right? Anyway, after watching the video of this guy beating the crap out of that girl on the elevator in the hallway in the hotel, it's clear to me, not a good dude, right? As Trump would say, bad hombre, bad hombre. Anyway, we'll keep you up to speed on what's going on with this and everything else. Straight ahead, a little comic relief coming our way. So keep it locked right here. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdez. And if this is the end of the road for you, take care, good night, and God bless you, America. Hasta la próxima. I'm Rich Valdez.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez. America's favorite late night talk program featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. It's 7 minutes past the hour, and we're going to get into our open phones across America shortly. Here's the phone number, 833-4825-337, 833-4-VALDEZ. Happy to be with you. It's a blessing to be with you this Friday evening, and to be live is always fantastic. So I want to get into a bunch of things tonight. We've had some discussion on what's going on with immigration. We're going to continue that discussion. We're going to continue some other conversation on, what exactly is going on in the world and how do we take ourselves a little less seriously, right? Because I think oftentimes, for me, I could just tell you a little bit about me, and maybe you don't want to hear this on a Friday night, but this is what you're getting. I look at the news all day. I try to be fair, not as a journalist. I'm not a journalist, right? I'm a commentator. But even in my analysis of it, I try to be fair. I try to look at both sides of the story. I try to play you long clips, not 10-second clips or 15, but like a minute, minute and a half, minute 30, right? To really give you the full context of the quote that I'm playing for you from these people that refuse to come on the show, which we invite. Because I think you have to be fair. I think it's important. But sometimes it doesn't matter. The other side just doesn't care. They all they want to do is tell their side of the story. And that's it. They don't care much about the truth. They don't care much about getting it right. So I try to let go of some of that every now and again, right? Let our hair down, if you will, and have a good time with things, because we can't be that serious all the time. We'll be angry all the time. I don't want to be angry. I don't know about you. I think a lot of people, listen to talk radio to be angry. They're like, and that was me. I listen to talk radio and I'm yelling at the radio. I'm like, no way. You've got to be kidding me. Come on. When you hear some of the craziness that's going on. But you have to develop, I think, a funny worldview, if we could use that term, where you look at things and you say, come on, these people are a bunch of clowns. And you got to make fun of them. You have to be jovial. You have to take it lightly. Now, I know some of you are saying, no, Rich, you can't take it light. This is our future, our kids' futures. You got to take this seriously. Oh, I do take it seriously. But at the same time, when I'm done here, right, it's going to be midnight Eastern time when I'm finished. And imagine finishing your work, and then it's midnight Eastern, and you've just read and talked about a bunch of horrible things, wars in the Middle East, wars in Europe, wars here, wars there. And the first thing I want to watch is a cop show that's very Hollywood, right, by the way, not a serious cop show, a very fantastically fake Hollywood cop show. The more Hollywood drama there is, the better. Or some reality TV show. One of my faves, Jersey Shore. The crew there, they make me laugh. They're just great. It reminds me of me being younger and whatnot. It's just, anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because I think we all have to figure out a way to blow off steam and engage in some mindless entertainment every now and again. And something that's serious and not mindless is the Federal Reserve, right? Something I wish didn't exist, but it does. And the chair of the Federal Reserve, Chairman Jerome Powell, made a statement today. Now, of course, Trump had been urging him, President Trump was urging him to cut interest rates, saying, look at the progress we've made in just 2 months. Be smart and cut interest rates so that we can continue to fuel the economy. But here's what Powell had to say.
Looking ahead, higher tariffs will be working their way through our economy and are likely to raise inflation in coming quarters. Reflecting this, both survey and market-based measures of near-term inflation expectations have moved up. By most measures, longer-term inflation expectations, those beyond just the next few years, remain well anchored and consistent with our 2% inflation goal. We remain committed to returning inflation sustainably to our 2% objective.
So, nothing, right? Basically is what he's saying. Nothing's happening yet. But if you could take something positive about that, he's saying long term, while there might be some near term instability or volatility, longer term inflation expectations beyond the next few years remain well anchored and consistent with our 2% inflation goal. So saying they're on track before the end of Trump's administration to have inflation down. Okay, got it. Roger that, copy, 10-4. This stuff that we're seeing here, the Dow at 38 and whatnot, it's not the bloodbath that a lot of people are crying it is, in my opinion. This is something we talked about with our buddy John Tobacco, Wall Street entrepreneur, early investor in Bitcoin, and the host of Wise Guys on Newsmax TV. He was on a couple of weeks back, and he basically said that he thinks the economy will be most robust and we'll begin to see things really humming when we get to, I think he said 31 at the Dow, because he felt like it was inflated with all of the spending that the Biden administration had put into the market. And that's the reason that the administration was doing that, right? They had the federal government was buying its own treasury bonds. They were investing in stocks. There was a lot of direction and a lot of investment from the federal government just to make the market look okay so that people wouldn't freak out with fear of the unknown, which is what they're doing now with Trump's tariff announcement. But it seems to be helping to purge a lot of the stuff that was in this artificially inflated market anyway. So there's likely a silver lining at the end of this, in my opinion. And again, Musk tweeted about this, I don't know, at least 6 or 7 months ago when he saw the Biden spending and said, this is going to become a recession. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to become a recession, but I am saying we knew that some form of this was going to happen, and we knew the markets would react somewhat poorly, or I should say overreact this way. I don't expect this to last that much longer, the immediacy of it. And again, I'm not a financial guru by any means, nor do I play one on the radio. I'm just looking at it from the eyes of somebody who has seen this happen before. And we've seen it, right? People, oh my gosh, my 401k. We're at, I think the Dow is at 38 today, right? Down 2,200 or whatever, but I think that index number was 38. That's way up from where it had been. So in the not too distant past. So I think we're okay. I really do. I don't think that this is the sky is falling the way it's presented. But something that I do want you to, speaking of Musk, right, that I wanted to mention, there's a guy named Ezra Levin, or Levin. I don't know how he pronounces it. No relation to the great one, Mark Levin. He's an organizer. He's a lefty, an organizer of something that puts together protests all across the country against Trump and against Musk. And he was on CNN today. And he says that any claim that says that he supports vandalism against Tesla are bogus. He doesn't support vandalism. He just supports peaceful protests. Listen to this.
Also, we've seen this White House is willing to go after people who protest. You've also drawn the ire of the president and other Republicans. Yep. Elon Musk called the organization, quote, criminals, claiming that you're supporting the vandalism of Tesla dealerships. How do you respond to this? What are your concerns about the administration's response?
Look, it's bogus. Obviously, we've been organizing for the better part of a decade, and nonviolent protest has been a core foundational part of what we do. We show up at members of Congress's offices or at town halls to tell them to vote the right way. We tell them to start showing up for their constituents. This is American democracy. This is how it works. But it's no surprise that folks who are worried about public backlash to a deeply unpopular agenda are threatening peaceful protests. That doesn't come from a place of strength. it comes from a place of weakness, which is why I'm not first and foremost thinking about the 2026 elections now. I'm thinking about 2025 and how we can safeguard American democracy now. And the answer to that is we have strength in numbers. We all have to show up in this moment.
So anyway, that pendejo, again, Mr. Ezra Levin, it's laughable, this response, right? Because that's how the left has always operated. They say, no, we don't support any of that. This is democracy in action. This is free speech. This is us using the system. And if you don't like it, then maybe you're the autocrat. The problem is when their people go out of control, they'll go, those aren't our people. I don't know those people. And again, that's only a handful of people. The majority is largely peaceful, fiery, but peaceful, right? You've heard that. This is how they do it. They're fakes, they're phonies, and they're frauds. So I want to get some reaction to this Elon Musk story from comedian Chonda Pierce. She's going to weigh in on that. RFK Jr. is the new HHS secretary. What's going on with P. Diddy, MSNBC, and so much more. She's got a lot to say, and she's going to be with us right now. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
By the way, your ratings are up. Congratulations. I had somebody. It's always nice to check. I like to see, even if they're friends, I like to see how are they doing. Are people listening, right?
That's
but
right.
You're doing great.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Do you mind if I just get your reaction to everything that's going on with Tesla, the boycott, and now the violence at these service centers?
I'm opposed to all violence, beginning with the January 6th violent insurrection, where 140 of our police officers were attacked by Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, and other members of the mobs and the militias that were sent out by Donald Trump. And of course, I'm opposed to violence against property, too. I haven't heard about a boycott, but I'm sure there's a natural boycott going on because people say the Tesla sucks. But it's a free market, so everybody can make their own decision about that.
Do you think it defeats the purpose, though, of climate change if they're out there destroying EVs?
Is it the only
and
electric
boycotting?
car? Is that the only electric?
No, but they're the leader. They're
I'm not in the market for a car now, but when I am, I'll let you know what my calculation.
Thank you so much.
That's Congressman Jamie Raskin trashing Elon Musk and his Tesla and, downplaying any support for the protests, which include torching Teslas and all sorts of other craziness, like putting swastikas on them, wiping poop on them, spitting on them, vomiting on them. I've seen it all. And it's all caught on 9 cameras that these cars come with. It's a big trend across the social media and across the country to catch people beating up on Elon Musk's Tesla. So I want to get some reaction to this and what's going on with Elon Musk from our guest. You've heard her on this program before. She is a comedian. She's been on national tour, and she's got a book called Life is Funny Until It's Not, a comic story of love, loss, and lunacy. Chonda Pierce, welcome back.
It's so good to be back, Rich. This world is going crazy. My grandmother would say it's going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, I agree with that. And talk to me about Elon Musk. What are your thoughts there?
I don't know what the obsession is with this one man, because it wasn't, maybe a year and a half ago they were shouting his praises because he does so much for climate change. Everybody was in love with the Tesla. Every liberal friend I know drives a Tesla, wants a Tesla, and now all of a sudden the table is turned simply because he's working around the clock without getting paid to make our country better and more solvent. And it just absolutely blows my mind. And if you ask somebody about it, everybody will say they don't like the violence, they're not for the violence or whatever. But yet their propaganda speech is what, is pouring that fuel on the fire.
Well, Chonda Pierce, the left has been complaining that Elon Musk should not be working in the White House because he's not a politician. What do you think about that?
Well, A lot of them shouldn't be working in the White House either because they are politicians.
I agree with that.
These people have been in office for decades, and Trump's gotten more done in 5 months than they've gotten sitting in there for decades and decades. And so, they really, what they say goes in one ear and out the other. When you get a big liberal Democrat politician, saying how disgusted they are with the committees that Trump's put together of brilliant human beings that love this country. I think the reason they don't want him in there is because it's showing them up. It's really showing their insecurities. It's also showing that they're terrified that their bank accounts are going to get smaller, and I think they're going to show them up. It's like they have put a Major League Baseball player in with a little league squad, and they're terrified. Little leaguers just need to go on home.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, Chonda, in addition to the DOGE efforts of Musk and President Trump, there's also complaints from the opposition, from the left, about what's going to happen, who's going to be left to do what type of work if they deport everybody in the country. And I can't believe what I'm hearing.
Work. Right, I do too. I am all for what I love about America is that people love America so much, they're hungry to get in. And so those who want to come in and do well and do good, and because they love our country, man, I welcome them with open arms, but do it the right way. I think, the left is so upset about all of this deportation, and a lot of it, I think it is because it's showing them up. And secondly, I think it's because they're going to have to do some work themselves.
Well, now,
they
who do
might
you
have
think?
to take out their own trash can.
Well, if they're deporting everybody who, quote unquote, won't do the work that Americans won't do, who do you think they're going to get to fill these positions?
I think Americans will step up. I just have to believe that. We kind of lost one generation with their pink hat, vagina hats in there. We've lost we've lost the little snowflakes that want to change their gender and wear all their earrings. That we've kind of just lost that. But there's a new generation that's on the horizon, and these people that are just now getting out of college, these guys that are just now starting college, they've been raised around this rhetoric and around this upheaval between the left and the right, and they're seeing the light for themselves. I travel all over the country, and sometimes I'm in a theater, I might be in a church, I could be on a college campus, or at a university, and I see a generation that really is, not just Trump followers, but they want to see the country last for their grandchildren, and so they're really getting a better clue. I just have a feeling that people will step up. It's going to be an adjustment. I think some corporations that are used to growing on the backs of these illegal immigrants, they're going to have to start a new way.
Chonda Pierce, comedian on tour across the country. We're going to talk about some of her tour dates, about her book, and here's some of her new material when we come back. Keep it locked right here. It's me, Rich Valdez, coming right back with Chonda Pierce. Don't go anywhere.
So glad to be on your show, Rich. It's just an amazing broadcast that I hope the rest of America listens to every day.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Sean Diddy Combs' legal troubles continue. The disgraced music mogul has been hit with a third superseding indictment filed by federal prosecutors in New York April 3rd, adding 2 counts to his pre-existing charges.
That is the latest on Sean Puff Daddy P. Diddy Combs getting yet indicted again, a third indictment in the installment of sex trafficking charges against him. And we're going to talk about that and the confirmation and progress made by Secretary RFK Jr. and so much more of what's going on in the news. And Chonda Pierce is our guest. She's a comedian. She's on tour this month. I'm going to give you some tour dates and some cities in a moment. But Chonda, you had something interesting to say when you heard about the initial work of the DOGE committee, finding that there was $50 million going to prophylactics in Gaza. And your thoughts had something to do with Diddy. Tell us more.
Yeah, that's the truth. I think whatever's happening, God, here's what kills me about the whole DOGE thing. When there's that, they've been finding all this $50 million, to go to condoms in Gaza and, sex videos. If it ever gets played, they'll get killed. I mean, that's what's so crazy. The money that's going to make the transgender-friendly movies for Iran, documentaries for Iran, nobody can even say the word without getting your head chopped off. These people that are fighting for all these crazy things. So the bottom line is, all of that money has gone in somebody's pockets. It hasn't made a video because surely they're not stupid enough to try making a video like that in a country where a woman's not even allowed to be out in public without her face being covered up. I think what's fascinating, from the Diddy list to the Epstein list, everything is coming out. And that's why most of D.C. is nervous, because somebody's on that list that doesn't want anybody to be known they're on that list. There's going to be more divorces in the next year than ever before in Washington, D.C., which is not
Crazy
funny,
stuff.
but it kind of is funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
Scary.
And I hope Kennedy gets passed quicker than I wish they would hurry up and do that. But except when I talk to him next time I go to the White House, I'm going to tell him, leave my Twinkies alone. I know he's going to make us get all healthy, and I don't care about any of these vaccines that, haven't really been tested. I'm okay with that. But don't mess with my Twinkies, Rich.
Oh, I hear that. I love a good Twinkie and the ho-hos personally. But, have you ever seen RFK? Right. Have you ever seen him do the push-ups? He's 71 years old, and he's in excellent shape.
Absolutely puts everybody to shame. I saw a video of Chuck Schumer on a treadmill the other day, and I thought he was going to pass out, and then it flashes over to Kennedy, and he's doing one-handed push-ups, and it just blows my mind at people that really cared about these folks and loved them until they started associating with Trump. And I understand what that feels like. I've been, they tried to cancel me and make me get woke. And I'm like, I know where my bread is buttered, and it's the good old people of America. All these people complaining about what's happening in America, they totally forget that the majority voted in Trump, that their complaints are just a pin on a needle for the rest of us that are just happy to let this country get growing. Yeah.
Now, Chonda, I've mentioned that you're going to be on tour and you're going to be in a bunch of different cities this month, and I want to share that with the audience. But give us a little sample of what your tour is about. What are you talking about? Are you talking about current events, life stories? Give us a sample of some of your material.
I really do. I always have included what's really going on in the now, along with, some of your perspective on that. And I'm so blessed that I still have an audience. This entire tour is sold out before I even left home. And so I don't know what that says, other than people still need good, clean things to go to. But my biggest thing right now is I play Where's Waldo with the audience, which is Where is Joe Biden? Because nobody has seen him. And dear Lord, they probably put him in the first nursing home they could come to. It is, I love talking about those current events. And then before the night is over, Rich, to be honest, we will laugh and joke and cut up and all those things. But we will talk about what's right with America and how we can get right, how we can feel better about ourselves. And that, I believe, in my personal life, is a relationship with Jesus Christ. And so I have always used my platform to share good news. And I love it that way. It's been my MO for 34 years.
Outstanding. So when people go to one of your shows, what can they expect to hear?
Hopefully, a lot of I do a lot of stories from my early childhood when I was grew up in such a conservative home. I didn't know anything about sex. So, that's kind of funny and edgy to tell in a little, in my little blue collar audience. But I do love, my favorite joke in the world is the difference between Episcopalians and a Baptist. An Episcopalian will say hi to you in the liquor store. We have so many different denominations that I have the greatest job security. It will take me forever to get kicked out of every single church out there. I talk a lot about that. I love to talk about what women go through. I always wanted to be so funny that people would just pee in their pants. The women in my audience, I didn't know I'd be doing this so long that I'm the one peeing in my pants. And that's awful.
I love it. Folks, we're on with Chonda Pierce, and she's on tour April and May from Ohio to Indiana, West Virginia, Kansas, Texas, Missouri, Montana, Arizona, and so much more. And I want to direct you to her website. It's chonda.org, CHONDA.org, chonda.org. And, of course, check out her book, Life is Funny Until It's Not, a comic story of love, loss, and lunacy. Chonda, any final thoughts?
I love that people come and see me, but I always want people to know, as bad as it looks out there, it's still not hell. And so it's going to be okay. Stop panicking. And Trump's got this. And more importantly, God's got this.
Amen to that, sister. I love that. Well, I want to thank you for being with us and sharing your humorous insights with us. And Godspeed to you with the tour and everything else you're doing.
Thank you, Rich. Have a great day.
You bet, Chonda. Thank you. God bless. And amigos, we continue. Your thoughts, your calls, and reactions to everything that's going on in the news and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
After the guest leaves every night, we're doing open phones, kind of at the heartbeat of America. And you sit there in this radio studio, and suddenly you hear voices. Mobile, Dallas, New York, Miami. And there's kind of a conglomeration of America all in one room.
Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, amigos, to the phones we go. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. I want to go to Jim, Naperville, Illinois, streaming the program tonight, richvaldez.com. Jim, go right ahead, sir.
Hey, Rich, just not to be a Debbie Downer, but, you have 6,800 pages of tax law, over 6,800 pages of tax law just for the federal taxes, and then 75,000 pages to explain what it's all about. And then on top of that, you have thousands and thousands of pages of local and state laws, for every other law. And then we're all responsible for it. So who lives a life without revolving around the federal and state law?
Yeah, well, that's the unfortunate point of the intrusive bureaucracy, living our lives inside of our lives, getting in our head, getting in our business. This is why I always say, I can do without the government any day of the week. When I was a young man, I was a barber, and I remember doing taxes for the first time, and I shared this story many times, and I'll share it again. When I saw how much the government took in taxes from me, I was like, this is not tax. This is a partner. This is a full-on third or more partner in my business, and I thought that should be a crime. But who do I turn to when it's the government that's shaking you down? So listen, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. And you've got to, rub elbows with the right people, get the right accountants. Something I'm learning in life, and it's true for everything, and it probably makes sense to most people, but I guess, it took me a long time to learn this lesson. You can have a doctor, and not every doctor is that good. You can hire a painter. Not every painter is that good, right? When you find somebody that's good at what they do, you stick with these people, and you need to be loyal to them, because not everybody in that profession is as good as they are. And I think that's the case with accountants. You find yourself a good accountant that stays on top of their game, knows what they're talking about, keeps up to speed with the 6,800 pages you're talking about, and all of the nuances that come and change every year. And you want to deal with those people that can help you to set up a family foundation, to do what you have to do to protect your wealth, protect your assets, hire your family, and make sure you don't get hit over the head with capital gains if you're doing real estate deals, things like that. Maybe setting up a 1031 exchange if you have investments. And these things, I think, are critical. And those who aren't dealing with good accountants or people that can give them such advice, they're getting hit over their head. So you're 100% right, Jim. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us this Friday night. Always a pleasure to hear from you. And we're going to swing it over to Texas. But first, a quick pause. We'll be right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Valdez. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, amigos, welcome back. I want to continue open phones across America with calls from all over the country. We're going to go to Tyler, Texas, KLIF in the building. Let's go to Blake. Blake, go right ahead, sir. You're on with Rich Valdez. Welcome.
Yeah, Rich, thank you for having me on. I want to address this tariffs subject. Tariffs are getting a really bad rap from the media, and they don't really understand what they're all about. Tariffs are designed to help the government sustain international trade. And tariff has nothing to do with the material that's produced within the country, but when a country gets to the point where all of its production is shipped overseas, it's in a very dangerous, strategically dangerous place. And to bring some of the industry back, you tariff certain items, and sometimes you just make blanket tariffs, for the sake of simplicity. I think that all countries should apply some kind of tariff.
Oh, they are. And they do it on us.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and they are, but we haven't, and we're the only ones that seem to be missing the boat, because tariffs bring in money for the central government. That would take the place of overtaxation for the people that work. People that would, could you imagine paying half the taxes that you normally would pay because tariffs are making up for some of it while you're balancing out your trade and preserving your jobs? I mean, isn't that a good thing? I like protectionism. I'm so thankful that Trump has done this, because we're going to have this speed bump, because the people that run the markets, and they run them in a supercomputer mode, they can run and carve the percentages so they can make a whole lot of money on the markets, whether they go up or down. But if they take them down too much, you know what? Nobody's going to go to those big Wall Street or different NASDAQ and markets. They're going to go and directly invest in these countries, because it's getting to where the people that would invest in stock in a company, they can't beat that computer that edges them out. And when these market crashes are caused because these people have these high-speed computers and they're able to short the market quick enough, and we just have precarious drop-offs. And I'm just hoping that if they do it too badly now and they cause the markets to fall too bad, that everybody abandons them. Everybody with sense, that they pick a company.
Now, who are you talking about? Who's abandoning who?
That the people that are investing in their 401 portfolios that are working and they don't want to lose all their money because somebody that's able to run the stocks can run the precipitous fall-offs a lot more efficiently than they can because they're busy doing their job and working. That's why direct investment is the way to go, and it's going to be the wave of the future because you can invest in the companies that are coming back to our country, coming back and providing jobs for our people, and those are the ones that really stand to be big gainers. And there's a way to do this direct investment, but there's going to have to be a transition. There's going to have to involve some thinking and some forethought, because without a way to protect ourselves from a radical trade imbalance where an adversary can suddenly just cut us off or even sabotage the product that comes into our country.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with you there. We learned this lesson big time during COVID when we weren't producing our own medicine and stuff like that. And that's not something that we can have again. And we don't ever want to be in a situation like that. I also think, the argument that was made by somebody I had on earlier this week from World Bank, who was arguing against tariffs, his argument was we should focus more on the industries, other industries that we could build. But it's so much easier to build this industry because you have the instrument of tariffs to bring in manufacturing. And we also have historical precedent where we once were a big manufacturing country. So if we can get a part of that back, and I don't see why we couldn't get it back in the long haul to where it makes most sense. Because, again, if you use the model that Trump is putting out there saying, look, if everybody wants to sell to this big number one market on the planet, then bring your business here. Not just selling to us. Build your stuff here. Hire our people. Let's get those jobs going. Let's get these factories going. And I think that type of investment is a good thing because it's all being made here. Whether they want to sabotage us or not, at least we have the home court advantage. And I think that's a big win for us. Blake in Tyler, Texas. Thank you, sir. KLIF. Let us continue. Rich, Palm Springs, California, KVTA. Go right ahead.
Yeah, how you doing, Rich? Thanks.
Sure.
I know that you've talked about a lot of these issues and things, but I just wanted to ask if you agree or any of your listeners, with all the nonsense going on, without listing anything specific, because it's all of it, the longer that we don't, or the new DOJ does not hold people accountable and arrest, make some serious arrests.
For what?
For the fire bombings, for the.
Well, they did. They locked up 3 people for that.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I mean, there's so much other stuff going on. Okay, so more specifically, more recently, like the Cory Booker stuff, the Jamie Raskin stuff, they make all these claims and comments that aren't true.
Well, you can't lock people up for lying,
No, what about inciting violence? What about inciting violence?
I think they really have to incite violence. And if I say, I think it's okay if you punch somebody in the face because you disagree with them, I don't think I'm inciting violence. I'm just condoning it. And I think there's a difference there. If I say, hey, you better go out there and do X, Y, and Z, then that's a different thing that'll get me in a world of hurt. Rich in Palm Springs, California, KBTA. Folks, we're coming right back. Your calls and more. Don't go anywhere.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media, your liberty-loving Latino amigo. Happy to be here with you. Really blessed to be on the mic with you guys live and national. It's 7 minutes past the hour, and so much to discuss. We're talking about tariffs, we're talking about immigration, we're talking about looking at life through funny eyes, and we're about to talk about some dating in a moment, especially dating across the aisle. And some of the news that was out there today was about, people, famous people that move on and sometimes cross paths, and, so-and-so's ex is now with so-and-so else, and this and that, and, all sorts of gossipy things. But it's the reality of life, right? It is the reality of life that people's relationships do end, and then they move on. And sometimes, either someone of a particular import or someone that is well known, or someone that's not, depending on, which circles you're in, people move on. Sometimes you know the ex, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you know the new guy, and sometimes you don't, or the new girl. And all of that stuff, I think, is interesting. And the media decided to bring that into discussion today. With some questions that they had for the president. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I find it interesting, just the interest that we have. And I know I have an interest in lots of things. We talk about plenty on this program. And one of the things that I always find interesting is how relationships work and the interpersonal dynamics of relationships and why and how. And the older I get, the more I realize there's so little that I know. Right? There's so little that I know about how those things work, and there's so much that we can learn from them. But I want to switch gears before we jump into that topic, because there's new things going on, right? You've got 37 people that were arrested at a roofing company in Washington this week because, again, all of them were using fraudulent documents in order to obtain working information, like working permits and whatnot. Listen to Sharon Yu from King 5 in Seattle.
An ICE spokesperson told us in a statement today that they took 37 people and they're now detained at the Northwest ICE processing facility in Tacoma after they were arrested for fraudulently representing their immigration status and, quote, submitting fraudulent documents to seek employment. An ICE spokesperson says the arrest happened after they executed a federal search warrant at Mount Baker Roofing in Bellingham. Mount Baker Roofing's owner, Mark Kuski, sent us a statement that said many of the people who worked for him are tax-paying employees who have been with the company for years, if not decades. He said, quote, policies like the enforcement action carried out today directly harm small businesses like ours, making it increasingly difficult to operate and further inflating prices paid by consumers.
So, again, you get the gist of that one. Again, that's Sharon Yu, King 5 in Seattle. The Department of Homeland Security, ICE, Border Patrol, these guys are out there, and they're doing what needs to be done. They're creating these federal task forces, I should say, where you've got local guys, you've got U.S. Marshals, you got all sorts of law enforcement that are going out there, in particular going after criminals. I think the second group of people you see them going after is this, employers that are running companies where they have, not 2 and 3 guys helping out their crew of guys, but all their guys, their entire crew of guys. And that's what happened here, where you got 37 people that were arrested. It's a big number of people. And I think you're going to see more of that. And something I was talking about on television earlier this week, a separate topic, but it fits here, which is I think this administration, while my critique for them would be, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, in defense of them, I would say, they're not here playing favorites, right? They realize that there may be some collateral damage with these things, but they're here to do a job, and they take the job very seriously. And I have to take comfort in that. I really do. I have to say, you know what? They're willing to do what has to be done to go after whomever it may be and wherever it need be in order to get the job done, because there's a job to do and there was a mandate and people voted. So, kudos to them for that. And we could sit here and toss around all sorts of ideas. And listen, I think that's the right thing to do. If you're in the country illegally, I don't think every single person needs to be deported. And I'll make this example, right? You can call me soft on crime if you like. If you go to a restaurant somewhere, and I'll use a good example here. A friend of mine has a restaurant, and a lot of his wait staff, and maybe not even a lot, I think maybe 90% of his wait staff, mainly the wait staff, are brought in on, I forget which visa, but they come from the UK, right? Because it's an English pub. So to make sure that when somebody comes to your table, they have a British accent, he brings them right in from England. And they're here for 6 months, and they go back home, and they work at a different restaurant over there, and then they come back over here. And that's the system that they have. It might be an H-1 visa. Now, if one of those people overstays their visa, they are technically in this country illegally, right? Just like the person that came here illegally by way of the border. Same thing. They were once allowed to be here. Now they're not allowed to be here. A visa overstay. And if you are on a visa overstay, and that could apply to anything, right? You come from, I don't know, some country in Europe, some country in South America, some country, Australia, Africa, it doesn't matter. Some part of the globe, you come here on a plane, you're here to visit, you hang out, you stay. And now you're here for a little more time. I don't know, maybe you have a kid while you're here, maybe you don't. Maybe you're here for an extra 3 weeks. Maybe you're here for an extra 6 months. Maybe you fall in love with somebody. Maybe you don't. Maybe you land a job where they don't care about your status and you're loving life in America and you're like, I don't know what to do. There's all these gang people here. So while Trump's focusing on them, I'm just going to sit here and try and make some money, help my family back home and do whatever. I understand that this person's breaking the law. I don't see this person as a threat to the United States in so much as maybe if they're working as cheap labor. If they're working as cheap labor, then, that's a threat to the United States, and we have to fix that problem. But by and large, I think this is the reason that you don't see the administration going after large groups of these people where they know that there's a ton of people that are visa overstayers. And they have a record of them because they know you're here on a visa and you didn't check out. So why don't we go after them? Well, I think it's a matter of priority, number one. Maybe one day they will. Maybe they'll say, all right, we've gotten after our short list of violent criminals. Now we're going to go after these folks. But I think the real reason is because it's not Trump style, right? Trump style, he was never railing against that group of people. He's always been, if there's a Republican alive today that has been pro-DACA, pro-Dreamer, his entire career as a politician, it's Donald Trump. Right? He's always said, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. And he didn't have the support of the Republicans that first time around. This time he might. So he might be able to have a deal. And that's, again, specifically the Dreamers. But I think overall, Trump's looking to make a deal. He's not looking to chastise, a girl that came here on vacation to the United States and said, I'm going to get a job as a waitress, learn to speak English, has been here, working probably under an assumed identity, a false social, whatever it is, paying taxes that they'll never get a return on because she's not really that person, and is just trying to do their best to live the American dream. I'm not a special pleader for anybody, but I meet people like this on a regular basis. There's so many of them. I'm in the Northeast, and these people are law-abiding. I would venture to say they love this country. And if they had an opportunity, they'd stay and contribute and do whatever. So I think this is when you have these arguments of pathways to citizenship, paying a fine, this and that. These things all have to be evaluated because I don't see the expense and the effort that we're going through right now to go after criminals being expended for this particular group of people. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not advocating for them. I understand the case, but I don't see Trump saying, all right, Tom Homan, I need you to go after every waitress in every Spanish restaurant, every last dishwasher, and every type of restaurant. I just don't see it. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me get your thoughts on that. And would you date somebody that doesn't agree with your politics? And I bring this up all the time because I'm in the Northeast, and I went on a date not that long ago where this person says, well, I have a question for you. And I said, yeah, what's up? And she said, do you really like Trump? My response when we return.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
I just have to thank you for doing what you do every night and opening up that mic and hearing from Americans, letting them express their opinions, and really giving people a voice. So God bless you for what you're doing, my friend.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos. So like I said, I was on a date and not too long ago. And this woman turned to me and said, she was sitting directly across the table from me at a restaurant. And she said, I got to ask you, do you really like Trump? And I said, oh, yeah, for sure. I think he's terrific. So, I got to meet him at his club in Bedminster and spoken with him on the phone a few times, had him on my show. We did an interview. It was really, really great conversation. I see eye to eye with him politically, and I've known of him for, most of my adolescent and adult life. And I said, but moreover, forget Trump. Conservative politics has been how I've, in one way or another, how I've made my living for quite some time. That's my life. It's really who I am. I really am an activist. When I'm not on the radio, I am at events. I am helping candidates. I help with campaigns. I do this thing. And, I used to work with O'Keefe, Project Veritas, producing films, all sorts of stuff. So it was, she was like, oh, direct quote. She said, oh, so you were red before Trump. I said, yeah, I've never voted for a Democrat in my life. And she was like, good to know. And it seemed to kind of like it was like a new level of respect. She was like, well, if you've always been like that, then that's okay. I just wanted to make sure Trump didn't convert you from one of us. Which that's how I took it. Very nice person, very smart, very accomplished too. Runs a very successful business, has a house in the Caribbean, has a house in Bergen County, New Jersey, has another house somewhere else as a rental. Really doing well for herself, and very smart, good company, really nice. Outside of politics, we get along well. And she said, well, let's make a deal not to talk about politics. Now, I think this makes for fun, hanging out. But does it make for fun long term? Can you build there for anything of substance? I don't know the answer to that. I'm inclined to say likely not, because of how involved in this I am and my strongly held beliefs on so many of these topics. But I want to bring in the help of a pro, because Jennifer Styers is a matchmaker. She is a coach for dating and relationships. And she is the host of a podcast called The Lovability Show with Jennifer Styers. Jen Styers, welcome back.
I always love being here and love our conversations.
Thank you, Jen. Now, listen to this. Michael Knowles, who's a great podcaster, he talked about this topic a little bit on his program. I want you to hear this quick clip.
So increasingly, political difference is a deal breaker, especially for women. This is a report out. 86% think that it has grown more difficult to date someone who supports the opposing political party in recent years. This according to a 2020 YouGov Economist poll. More than half of men said they would date someone with different views, whereas only 35% of women said that they would date someone with opposing views. 48% of Republicans said they would date someone with opposing views because we're rather tolerant. 49% of independents said the same thing. Only 40% of Democrats said they would date a Republican.
So now, is this what I'm experiencing? Is this because I fit the mold of this study where I am conservative and I'm a male, so I'm more tolerant? Is that what's going on here?
Well, I mean, statistically, it would say that, but I think that we are just looking at. I mean, this has been happening more and more as the years have gone on, and people are just polarized at this point. Women feeling stronger about politics, the political with dating anyway, than men do. Men are more tolerant. Men are more conservative. I mean, look, statistically, especially with young men, they're more conservative. I mean, we're just here's the deal. Politics are tied to values, right? And so that's where the deal breakers seem to be coming in. It's tied to our values. So if you value, feminism, if you value, religion, if you value, conservative values, abortion, all these things and that's where women draw the line a lot too, is their rights as women, with politics. It's a value thing. So that's it in a nutshell. And women feel stronger about it than men.
Jennifer Styers. Now I wonder, is this the case? To get off of politics a little bit, I want to get your thought, and I guess we'll set it up and we'll get your response on the way back because we're down to like a minute or so. But is this the same reason why some men, at least my contemporaries, guys in their 40s that I know, they don't always care what a girl does for a living, right? They're looking for a girl that's nice and somewhat submissive and sweet and kind, and they don't care if she works at McDonald's or if she's, some high-priced lawyer. Whereas I think women, and I don't blame them in any way, right? I have two daughters, and I wouldn't want them going, oh, my new boyfriend, he works at McDonald's. Not that I'm poo-pooing McDonald's. I'm poo-pooing it for my daughter, right? That where I think, you want somebody with a little bit more of an ambition at this point of your life, in your early 20s. If it was, 8th grade, great. I'm glad he works at McDonald's. But my point is, and I'm not putting down anybody who works in fast food. I've worked in fast food coming up, and so did my kids and whatnot. But my point is, for the sake of making the point, is do you think these are the same reasons why guys are more tolerant or more open to those things than girls are? Don't answer just yet, Jen Styers, because we do have to take a break, and I want you to have enough time to respond. But it gives me a moment to remind everybody to check out your website, which is lovejen.com. And that's LOVEJENN.com, lovejen.com. And you can also subscribe to her podcast, The Loveability Show with Jennifer Styers. That, of course, is something that you should be listening to if you're not already, and watching it, because they stream that as well. Make sure you're following her on all the social media, and make sure you're locked into everything on my show, because in addition to this show, we do the monthly This Is America podcast, which is a shorter version. That's a little bit different than this show, and I appreciate all of your 5-star reviews for both of the podcasts. That's always a blessing to receive those. And you can listen to any of that stuff from richvaldez.com. Subscribe to the podcast. Don't subscribe, hit play. You could listen to whatever you want. Share it with your friends. richvaldez.com. That's Rich Valdez with an S. All right, amigos, we're coming right back. The plugs are over. We're going to get Jennifer's response to why men are more open to dating women that may be of lesser means. And, of course, your calls, 833-4-VALDEZ. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back with Jen Styers.
The best guests, the best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, we return to the awaited response of Jennifer Styers, dating and relationship coach, the host of the Loveability Show with Jennifer Styers. And Jen, my question before we left was, what's your take on why guys are more willing to date a girl that's different from them in their politics? Why are they more tolerant there? And why are they more willing to not really care about, does she own a house? Does she have a good 6-figure job? They just want somebody that's pretty and is nice to them and maybe knows how to cook really good.
That's probably it. You probably just nailed it. And actually, really statistically, you probably did just nail it. And let's just go into that a little bit more detail. I think two things. I think men are obviously biologically driven to attraction. They're just driven more by physical appearance. And so that's really more important to them than it is for women. And I think the other piece of it is that when a man is successful or he's got a job and he's busy and he comes home and he has a partner and spends somebody that he's spending free time with, he wants to have fun. And so that woman that may not be super successful, but she's pretty and she's fun and she's great to talk to and he enjoys spending time with her and she takes his mind off of work and all the heavy things in his life, that's who he's going to be drawn to. Because he doesn't have to worry about his security. He's got his own security with himself, and his confidence with himself. So that is my answer, like it or not.
Yeah, no, listen, I think that makes a lot of sense. And on that vein, I want you to listen to, I had a guest on in the last hour, Chonda Pierce. She's a comedian. She has a funny little bit on dating. Listen to this.
Those well-meaning girlfriends, the one that tries to tell you when it's time for you to move on, how do you regulate that for someone else? They came to my house and they left me a note on my laptop sitting on the counter, and it just said it had a password and a username and my credit card. So they stole my identity to do this. And they just said, we did this because we love you. And you open it up and it was 4 dating sites that they had signed me up for. Now, isn't that wonderful? Match.com, Christian Mingle, which I think there's a little mingling on there that's not too Christian, if you ask me. There's another one called Plenty of Fish or something, and it's free, and now I know why. It's pretty loose and free. And then the other one was Our Time. You have to be over 50 to be on Our Time, which really means you have very little time left at all. And by the pictures on there, you better hurry up.
So that's Shonda's humorous take on what's going on with online dating. But I find I've never tried it. I once set up one of those profiles, and I had it for like 5 minutes, and I was like, I don't think this is working. And I did it really to talk about it on the radio. I wouldn't even know the first thing to write or say. I'm a real actual people person. I like to see people's response and actually converse with people. So talk to me. I hear people get married left and right about this stuff. Is this a place where we can filter out for politics or for other things? And do you recommend it?
Well, okay, yes. On some of the dating apps, you can filter out for politics for sure, or whatever you want. Money, height. A lot of women like a tall guy, regardless of their own height. There's a lot of things that are filtered, but the truth of the matter is that people aren't using dating apps as much anymore. We just have seen this swing down since 2020, since COVID, of people really getting off the apps. There is this drive toward authenticity. There's this drive towards, like you said, wanting to get to know somebody, have a conversation. Who are you really? And they don't want to do the superficial thing. And we're seeing it's getting to a point now where the dating apps are really, they've taken such a hit. I don't know that they're even going to come back because people are getting off of them left and right. So authenticity is where it's at. Can people meet on dating apps? Sure they can, but the problem is it's a full-time job and they have to weed through a lot of yuck to get to it. And there's a lot more stuff in there. So always the best way to meet somebody is in person, through friends, matchmakers, things like that, where it's just more of a personal experience. These apps just they just find more ways to make it impersonal, and I think people are done with that. They don't want to waste their time. They want quality, and they're willing to wait for it, Rich, and they're also willing to get to this point where they're like, I don't need it at all. If it's not going to be great, if it's not going to be what I want, if it's not going to be what I need, then I'm not going to do it at all. I'd rather be single than be unhappy or lose my peace.
So what do you recommend? To hire a matchmaker like you or go to church or what?
Here's what I would recommend, because I am a matchmaker. a lot of people can't afford matchmaking services. Matchmakers can be very expensive. I'm not, but you know what I'm saying. It's just wherever your territory is. Here's what I would tell people. Find the things you're interested in, whether it's dining out, wine tasting, rock climbing, bicycling, whatever your hobbies are. Go do those things and find people that like doing them. Just like we spoke about politics, even politics is a way. Join your political group, young Republicans. I don't know, maybe there's a young Democrat group that I'm unaware of. But things like that, where you are meeting people like-minded, like values, and it gives you an opportunity to be around those people and connect with them. That's how you meet people, truly. Being in front of them and meeting them in person, seeing if you have chemistry. Because the best part, Rich, this is so important, the best part of all of this is that people judge. That's what the dating apps do. They judge on a picture, and then people have gotten so desensitized to that. It's like, I don't like them, I don't like them, I don't like them. But they meet somebody in person. They may not be initially attracted to them, but they start talking to them, and they're like, oh, my gosh, we have a connection. I like them. We have commonalities. I'm going to go out with them again. I'm going to go out with them again. And next year they're married because they tried something different. So people have to try new things and have to get in front of people they wouldn't normally get in front of, and try going out with people you wouldn't normally go out with. That's how you find a good connection. I hear it every day in my business, every day.
And a couple of quick headlines I want to run by you. We know that the actor Val Kilmer died recently, and Cher and Cindy Crawford and Angelina Jolie were some of the people that he dated before going 20 years strong in his longest term relationship there. What is having different types, not having a type, I guess, say about a person, or does it say anything at all?
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I had no idea that he dated those people. And you're right. They are very, very different. They are all of them very exotic and beautiful, though, right? In their own way. But having different, not having a type of just kind of wiping your slate clean, especially for somebody that's dated the wrong people or had the wrong relationships or bad relationships. Wipe your slate completely clean and just try different things on. Find out what you like. Maybe that nerdy guy or girl that you went out with, you loved these certain, characteristics about them. They were a gentleman. They opened your door. They had great conversationalists, something like that. Find those things that you like, and then eventually you can come back to a happy medium of all of the things that you want in a person. But there is a lot to say for literally shutting off your type and trying anything and everything different from what you've gone out with. It opens your mind and helps you get in touch with things you didn't even know existed, or things that you might have liked that you wouldn't even have known if you stayed with the same people.
Really well put, Jennifer Styers. And I want to make sure you have a chance to let everybody know how they follow you and how they keep up to speed with the work you're doing. So let them know.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, social media is always great. Facebook, my personal page, Jennifer Styers. And I did just launch an app. It's a matchmaking app, but it is so that we can get people into something that gives them quality matches. And we're going to be launching up in the Northeast in the next couple weeks. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, follow me on social media. You can hear, and of course, the Lovability Show. I'm not as good as you on the podcast. I try to keep up, but I'm busy.
Well, yeah. Thank you for your kind words, and thanks for being here.
I love you, Rich.
You're the best. Thank you. Jen Styers, everybody, make sure you check her out. And amigos, we come back with your thoughts, phone calls, reactions, and everything else. We've got calls from Daytona Beach, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, Boise, Idaho, and more. As the lines are blinking right now, people are calling in. Looking forward to chatting with you. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Gamez Maravilla was located in Lake County, Florida. Get ready for this. He was hanging drywall at the Villages when he was arrested. Bermudez Martinez was apprehended in Minnesota. Great police work by all of our federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies working together. Found this guy in Minnesota. He thought he got away with this crime, and he did not. Navarro Martinez arrested right here in North Lauderdale. They are charged with a brutal murder of a young man. One of these defendants sought him out, convinced him to come with him in his car, took him to a crime scene where they are all charged with violently stabbing him, almost like a game, to get a higher level in their gang initiation. They were all part of an MS-13, it's called Click, a clique that was living right here in Florida. They're not just a street gang, they are a highly organized terrorist organization.
That is Attorney General Pam Bondi announcing the arrest of more members of the MS-13 gang. That's on the heels of the 47 gang members from Tren de Aragua that were arrested earlier as well. So the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, Border Patrol, and the FBI are very much hard at work being tough on crime. And I want to get to your calls. 833-4-VALDEZ. Let's go to Fabian calling us from Chicago, Illinois on WLS. Fabian, go right ahead.
Hey, Rich. God bless you, sir. I'm calling regarding crime in Chicago. There was a double murder execution style of two young women in Chicago on the south side of Chicago on January 28th. It happened at 3 o'clock in the morning or so. Two women were shot execution style in the back of the head and died. One woman was shot in the face, and she survived. She made it to someone's neighbor's house and was knocking at the door, and she was all bloodied up.
Wow.
A couple weeks ago, I heard that this TDA member was arrested in Georgia, I believe Atlanta. That was a couple weeks ago, and I still haven't heard anything about him being extradited back to Chicago. They said they were going to extradite him back to Chicago, but I don't know what happened with that guy. But
Well, you know what? Honestly, that would be the worst thing they could do, because Chicago has sanctuary policies at the state level where they could try to prevent an ICE detainer and whatnot, whereas Georgia is more likely to cooperate with them and actually get this guy into El Salvador or Guantanamo Bay or back to his home country, Venezuela. So I think the best thing for this guy is for him to be in Georgia, because I think he'll get justice a lot swifter over there, right? Or they'll get justice for his murders over there, and he'll see some accountability. At least those are my thoughts. But thank you for your call, Fabian. I appreciate it. Is this something you guys are seeing a lot of in Chicago, or is this like a one-off type of gruesome Tren de Aragua murder?
No, this was I believe, sex trafficking. That's what I believe. The neighborhood was a pretty rough neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, and the girls were women, but they were young. And a lot of crime in Chicago, I think it's been swept under the rug. There's other crimes that have come to light on the news, but then it just disappears. You know, one guy was murdered a gentleman on the north side of Chicago. They caught him because he had an ankle.
An ankle monitor?
Yes. That's the only reason he got caught, and then it just faded away. You know, they reported it on the news, and then all of a sudden you don't know nothing else about it. You know, so it's a trend that I thought this one I should call and talk to you about it, because that's a serious thing. You know.
Yeah, well, the most recent update I've seen on this case is from a couple of weeks ago, so I haven't seen anything newer than that. and it's the same as what you're talking about. Ricardo Gonzalez arrested by U.S. Marshals in Georgia, awaiting extradition to Chicago. I'm thinking that they're probably holding it up, thinking what I'm thinking, which is to hold him there. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll keep you up to speed on it for sure. If I find out, I'll talk to you and everybody else that's on WLS and across the country that's tuned in. And thanks for the call, brother, because sometimes I don't see all these stories, and when you point them out, it puts things back in perspective when you hear about how gruesome this murder was. And this was brutal. Man, it really was. You're talking about it wasn't just the two women that were killed. There were some other people there too. The whole thing was just brutal. Two women were just pronounced dead at the scene, and somebody else died later, it looks like. Really, really tough. Thank you, brother, for the call. Let me see. Where do I go? Well, you know what? I'll take a pause right here, then we'll come back to Daytona Beach, Bowling Green, Kentucky, and so much more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, to the phones we go. Open phones across America. Let us go to Lester, Daytona Beach, Florida. WNDB. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Rich.
Yes,
a conservative talk show host was swatted like 3 weeks ago, and the swatter hasn't been caught yet.
Yeah. When that happened, it happened to a few of them, believe it or not, Lester. And even my friend Sean Farish, who has a talk show that he does a podcast on rumble.com. And we were talking about it, and we brought on Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, the spokesperson for the National Police Association. And she was explaining that these swatters, A, they're really good at it, and B, they go through this elaborate system of proxy servers where the call originates from wherever it originates, but it goes through a dozen or so different servers that make it look like the call's originating from Latvia or from Afghanistan, but it really could be coming from California for all we know, because it goes through 12 different fake stops in between. So it makes it virtually impossible to trace. By the time they get down to it, everything disappears, and it's burner phones and stuff like that. So very, very difficult to catch these people. I wish that we could catch them, and I wish we did a better job with that. And I'm not sure, I think there was one incident where I think there was a person of interest, and I should probably follow up on that. But you're right. This is the bigger point here, I think, is how destructive this is, right? How dangerous it can be, because, in some cases, these guys are coming in guns blazing, and you can get hurt. For the case of my friend, they came in kind of guns blazing, but they were made aware, once, hey, by the way, this is a thing that's going on. And then after the fact, it happened several more times. But very, 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 very challenging stuff indeed. And very upset about that. Let's go to Brad, Bowling Green, Kentucky, WKCT. Brad, sorry, we don't have a lot of time, so go for it quickly.
All right, buddy. About 10 years ago, I saw a thing on NBC, CBS, or one of the major whatever, and they said that
the music means we got to go. But you know what happens when it comes to the military and anything else in America? We've got to be real careful with the chips we use, the tech we use. It could be a foreign adversary. It could be from China. I know that the national security team's on top of that, but it scares me to think of what happened in the last 4 years. Brad in Bowling Green, WKCT. Shout out to everybody. Hasta la próxima. God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdez.